Since the dawn of flight, human beings have reveled in taking to the skies. Yet it was only with the invention of the jet engine that man realized his true destiny: to strap one of those bad boys to his back and take off like a bat out of hell. Dark Void tries to make the theoretical awesomeness of jetpack flight into a video game reality. When it comes to zooming around with your jetpack, performing acrobatic airborne maneuvers, dogfighting with UFOs, and flying places that you probably shouldn't, Dark Void can be pretty darn fun. Unfortunately, the other parts of the game aren't as fun. The third-person shooter action is competent but mundane, and the plot is an adventure-y cliché with only a few sparks of life. The campaign isn't particularly short, but once it's finished, there's nothing else to do except play it again. It's baffling but true. There is no multiplayer in this game, no online jetpack dogfights against your buddies. It's a shame because there is some fun to be had here. Sadly, this just isn't enough to justify the $60 price tag. And it doesn't help that the game gets off to a slow start. Discounting the throwaway prologue mission, it'll be a couple of hours before you can take to the skies in your fully operational jetpack. In the early going, you'll plod through levels, shooting enemies with a few different guns and taking cover behind a lot of objects. Dark Void has that sticky press a button to enter and exit type of cover, and if you don't use it fairly well, you stand a good chance of being mowed down by enemy fire. And cover isn't just walls or low barriers. Dark Void has a vertical cover system that allows you to lean over or hang from ledges and shoot enemies below or above you. It has a certain novel appeal, but it doesn't significantly improve the action. Shooting mechanics are good and headshots are reasonably satisfying, but the third-person run-and-gun action isn't all that exciting. You'll realize very quickly that you have the power to kill most robots with a single punch, so you'll melee attack whenever possible. This encourages you to be aggressive and elevates your run-and-gun tactics to run and punch and gun, but again, this kind of combat doesn't get much better than competent. Unfortunately, the narrative elements in Dark Void sometimes seem to aspire to competence. Things start off with a few cliches. The handsome, down-on-his-luck roguish fellow, a mysterious woman from his past, a fateful airplane ride. Throw in a sci-fi twist and it's pretty much business as usual. The bad guys have some enjoyably sinister moments, and the journals you find scattered around tell some intriguing tales, but these signs of life are overshadowed by predictability, dull dialogue, and occasional miscues. One glaring example is the introduction of one of the main characters, which could hardly be called an introduction at all. There's a lot of assumed familiarity that deflates any sense of wonder or intrigue. Why do the protagonists know the names of landmarks they've never encountered before? Why does our hero know exactly how to melee kill a complex alien combat robot? And on the opposite end of the spectrum, why does the main character say, "Wonder what this is for," after picking something up for the 8th time? Inconsistencies and loose ends plague the plot and characters alike, making it hard to really get involved. Yet the story proceeds at a reasonable clip and takes you through a fairly sizable adventure, so it isn't all bad. It's just not particularly good. The one part of Dark Void that is particularly good is the jetpack. You fly around with a fun sense of speed, and each flailing takeoff is a great visual reminder of the forces that are propelling you through the air. You can fly, boost, brake, and hover. There are also a few acrobatic moves that you can pull off to help evade or pursue enemies. You're very maneuverable in the air, and as a result you can take some daring and disorienting flight paths if you so desire. Alien UFOs prove to be engaging foes, and the large-scale dogfights provide some entertaining aerial combat. Getting fancy with the flight controls is Dark Void's most appealing activity. Sure, you could hover into that open hangar, land, and pick off the enemies from behind cover. But why not try to scream in there at top speed, blast the robot point blank, smash the control panel, and then zoom the hell away? Yeah, it's dangerous, but why else did you strap that thing to your back? Dark Void is at its best when it lets you use your arsenal and abilities in whatever way you see fit. The simplistic cover combat becomes much more entertaining when you're jetting across a level and then landing gracefully behind cover. A Field of Stone's custom-made for cover-to-cover movement is a lot more fun when you just decide to fly back and forth over it, strafing your entrenched foes. The best moments in Dark Void are those of your own making. when you embrace the fact that you've got a crazy jetpack on your back and try to pull off daring stunts and maneuvers. And that right there is Dark Void's chief appeal. If tooling around with a jetpack sounds like a good time, then you're gonna have some fun here. Unfortunately, it takes a while to get there, and the other action isn't fun enough to stand on its own. And without any multiplayer modes or replayability to speak of, Dark Void isn't a very good value. If you got a few bucks, some spare time, and a hankering for flight, consider Dark Void a reasonable rental. You'll have to slog through some mediocrity, but you will earn yourself some high-flying thrills for your troubles.